Preparing live stream.
I guess I should change.
It feels like I feel like we haven't been all together like this in 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has been that
I
long.
think since Christmas, I think.
Yeah,
What?
No.
I
It's
think
been a
so.
minute.
I think so.
I think Mario's right. Yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Oh,
I just want to say,
I gotta go.
Yeah, I was about to say, hold on. Wait a second.
Peace.
just beep. My purple Ibanez sign in the back looks fucking sick, but now you're
That's
not
what
going
I
to
was
see
gonna
it,
say. It looks
Yeah.
doesn't it? Yeah, my buddy dropped it off, but now I'm going to
cool.
get
It looks
rid of
really
it.
cool. Too
Do
bad.
the background. If I can remember how to do that.
Oh shit, do I need to change my background as well?
Yes.
Oh,
me
Bloody
too.
hell. Put your fucking background on, mate.
I don't even know what accent that was meant to be.
Brill.
How
Good.
Brill.
I
the
haven't worked on
fucking
it.
hell do I change my background?
Is it
Fucking
video?
Jesus.
Oh no, I don't know.
Yeah, go to the video thing on the bottom left, and then go
video
to
effects
adjust
and
background and effects, and then it's in there.
Fucking Jesus Christ.
Are
But
we?
let's
Are we?
let's get
holding
rolling
this
because
tonight?
Holden doesn't feel well. He had to call out.
Oh no. Okay.
But
Must have missed
let's
that.
get rolling, Jamie.
Okay.
And he just texted me right before we were starting. He said to
Oh.
apologize to everybody.
See
You ready?
how it is.
Yes.
Welcome to Perfect Organism, the Alien Saga podcast. I'm your host, Jamie Prater, and I'm joined by my co-hosts.
Patrick Green.
Harry Chicos.
And Yeet Girl. Micah Green, sorry.
Kyle June.
Mario Benvenuto.
Dead dog.
Welcome, everyone.
That is a gauntlet.
Yeah.
That's everybody but Holden, who unfortunately doesn't feel well tonight, but he sends his regards. That's a stacked roundtable we got tonight,
Hell yeah.
everybody, and we got lots of news. We got actually huge news to talk about this afternoon. So we're gonna save some of that, for the end. We're gonna get to our topic in a moment, but before we do, we got to give Patreon a shout out because you deserve it. And then Andy's going to read a review, and then Micah is going to give you the heads up on something pretty cool. So without further ado, let's go back a couple months here. We got Hudson's Extra Life, Sky Aaron, Jordan, Christian Sattler, Darren, JS, and just a few days ago, Travis. I love the mononyms, the one named patrons. It's just Travis. Like, I don't know which Travis. It is just Travis.
It's the
Thank you so much
band.
for joining. Yeah.
It's Travis.
If you want to join them, go to perfectorganism.com/support or just search for us on Patreon. We are about to record live on Friday a Project Hail Mary frame rate. Oh, can't wait for that one. And we have some Alien Day goodies planned as well in terms of our Marine series. So anyway, without further ado, Andy.
Yeah, here's a review from February. I believe it's I Waki Waki. I'm sorry if I say that wrong or if it's an L. But the review reads Big Hicks Energy as the title, and then in all caps, must be made into a shirt. So, spoiler alert, it is. And
Happening.
it is happening. And the rest of the review, pretty much listen to every episode. I love this franchise, and this podcast augments so dang well. Keep up the great work, y'all. So, thank you.
Nice.
Wow, that's awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What was the name? Alaya. Something like
I,
that.
I Waki Waki.
I Waki Waki.
I Waki
Thank you,
Waki.
I Waki Waki. Might be
Before
Al.
we continue, before we hand it over to Micah, I just want to say to all of our listeners and people listening live right now or watching live, we've been sort of off on our release. Things have been happening, travel, life, the world. So we apologize for that, but we are back as best we can be.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for content. Woo!
So I'm gonna hop in real quick and do a little plug of a poll that we're about to put into the live chat.
It's there right now. I just put it in.
It's there. So basically, we were wondering, we have a couple questions in there. We want to get some feedback from you guys. We want to know things like how you found us, things like what are we doing that's awesome, what are we doing that sucks, and just other stuff like that. So if you have a minute, it would be really awesome, really helpful if you just go through and check out the poll and submit your answers there. That would be awesome. Thanks.
Thank you, everybody. And also, it's a great place to add ideas for things you might want to see. And,
Oh, yeah,
just
that's
kinda
one of the questions. Yes.
get in touch with us. And this will be in the show notes for the episode once this comes out. So if you're listening to this and you're not on the live stream, A, consider why you're not in the live stream, because you should be. But B, you can just fill this out in the show notes, and we really would appreciate it because we want to tailor the show, to really reach you guys.
And without further ado, shall we get into it? Have we covered everything?
I think we did. That was a lot of business, but I think we're good.
It was.
Yeah, let's get rolling here. We're gonna maybe save some of the news stuff for the end. Do you think?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So then I think that the first order of business is getting back. And Kyle had suggested talking about this again, which is talking about Alien Isolation 2, which is definitely not what it's going to be called. It's I really hope it's not called more
It's
isolated.
called Isolations.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, right. Can you imagine that?
Isolations.
It is not going to be called that. I'm saying that right now. But we want to
Hope not.
talk some speculation, some of our hopes and aspirations, and also some of the things that we're hearing in the community. We talked about this a little bit on our last episode with Mike Diver, whose book gets into some of the speculation around this quite a bit, which was a lot of fun. And we felt like it was kind of timely to circle back on it. So whoever wants to start with some speculation, go ahead and speculate.
Can I ask a question though? Oh wait, maybe I can't ask that on air. I think that's not public knowledge. Never mind.
Wow.
Wow.
Way to dangle it in everyone's face.
Okay,
I
Oh,
know.
well, no. Okay, I'll
One
ask
way
it
to
this way.
start.
How possible do you think we might get this game at the end of this year?
I don't think anybody knows what that timeline is going to look like. I think
Okay.
that's a really optimistic thing that would be great. But we don't know.
It would be nice, but I think based on the complexity of the first one, how deep and how many layers there are to like even just like the sub characters, I'd be really surprised if we got it out there. I wouldn't be surprised if we get it 2028. That's what I'm expecting.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'm personally thinking like holidays 2027 would be like a realistic release date, but it's worth noting that they do already have a lot of assets and things. They already have a lot of the game mechanics figured out. A lot of the engine is like probably not going to be changed very much. So like it's not like they're developing it from scratch, But
Yeah,
the first
they-
development cycle was like many, many years too. So
And when was it? 2 years ago that they announced? Was it two,
It
or was
I
it
think
just
was
last
a
year?
It was
No,
just
it was last
right?
year.
Just
Yeah, it was
last year. Okay.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
last year they were also looking for people to come work for Creative Assembly as well to
Right.
help build it all and stuff, or add to it, I'd imagine. But like I said, they've also got cut footage, cut gameplay and stuff from the original game as well. Like there's a piece called The Solace. Amanda Ripley finds a frozen ship called The Solace. And loads of people are frozen and died in their ice coffins. The game developers wrote it down as. So they could actually just reuse a bit of that as well, pre-existing game stuff.
Cool.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. So what are people thinking? Kyle, you want to start us off? You're the one that suggested this.
Yeah. So I brought it up because I don't know where the game is gonna go. I'm not gonna lie. Like I feel like I made some notes today driving from work, and I was actually listening to the old podcast. I was like, let me just remember like some of the points or whatever that we have talked about already. But for this, I was a little concerned about like where they could go with this, because it's like we don't just want the same game again. Like exactly the same game. Like, why would you play it again if there's no variation? Obviously, you want the thing you loved, but you want something slightly nuanced and different, or are you just going to play the same game? And I think that will get really stale very quickly. And I don't know. I've come to the conclusion I think mid things are worse than bad things because you're like almost getting something great, but it's not good actually. And you're like gaslighting yourself over it. Like it's really. That's my most probably my biggest concern is probably that. But anyway, like I was thinking of where it could go, and if they're gonna like really like lean into the Amanda Ripley story, which I think they're gonna do, like I'm hoping, but like at the same time, I remember Patrick, I was listening to the old podcast, like you were fine with it just being standalone, like this is a solid story. We don't know what happens. We don't like see anything go off, and I'm like I agree with that as well, but I don't think they're gonna do that. So like if they're announcing a sequel, they're not gonna want to create some new story, or maybe they will, but I doubt it. Unless they're gonna pull like, and I want to talk about it because this is a hot topic too, but like a Resident Evil 2, right? Where like you have two all new protagonists, you know, that are in it, which would be cool, but I don't know. I don't see them doing that. Anyway, though, so I'm thinking like, well, the thing is what everyone's going to immediately jump to is like, okay, this was an Alien game. Are we going to have an Aliens game now? And which is like, well, how many games do we have that do that already? You know, we have first person shooters. We had Rogue Incursion. We had, you know, Alien versus Predator. You had Alien Trilogy. You had, like, I go down the laundry list of these Alien games, all right? Aliens games, actually. So like, I started thinking of like I have a couple notes here. I was thinking of like more like up stakes. I think there needs to be more intensity in this. If they're gonna like change anything, we can't just have it be the same like hide and seek game. It's gonna be that, I hope so, but it can't just be running around with the same xenomorph. I think there needs to be more pressure put on the player that you can't just play hide and seek with one xenomorph again. It needs to be that like you have multiple xenomorphs, like awful things are happening all the time. Like what I'm thinking, I hope it is like, and I don't want to like hog up too much. I hope they mirror an infestation that happens in Hadley's Hope. Like, like everything goes wrong. Because if you think about it, besides in the comics, we've never actually seen the dynamics of an infestation and what happens to defenseless people, like when they're taken. Like, I hope that's a DLC, like, you know, in Hadley's Hope, but I hope that they do something that mirrors that because we haven't seen panicking people. We haven't seen Amanda Ripley just chilling, you know, making coffee and then everything goes wrong when she thinks things are fine. I think that's how you could keep the essence of Alien and honestly kind of be in that liminal plus like position between Alien and Aliens, but you keep it on the side of like I'm hiding from this. And then I have another thought, but I want to, and I'll just leave it with this: is that Amanda Ripley needs more agency. She can't. She's not just gonna not have a weapon now. Like she's not dumb. Like she. But then that's that weird line that you need a weapon to kill things, but then it's gonna turn into a shooter, right? So my only like kind of compromise, and I was like thinking of this like that liminal territory between Alien and Aliens, is that she needs to have her agency like there and then taken away from her somehow, to have both there. Sorry, I'll shut up. But that's where I'm at with it. So that was a lot of points, but yeah, I'm trying to figure out where it could go because I honestly know what they're gonna do.
Can I jump in? I personally think that the way the game is obviously set, we know what the game is about. It's like you say, it's a hide and seek type of game, and you can deter the alien. I've been thinking about it quite a lot and what sort of game that I would do. Now, in the original game mechanics, they were going to introduce a multiplayer mode that was set as a four-player, and you could have, I think you might have even been able to control the alien and three other people are trying to hide, or it could have just been four people and you hide away from the alien and you all work together. So I think personally, what I would do if it was me, obviously because the first Alien Isolation is influenced a lot by and referenced a lot of the first Alien movie. So naturally, I think a lot of people will probably assume that they'll do the same with Aliens. They'll be heavily influenced by Aliens with a hint of Alien as well. So me personally, what I would do is I would love to see a co-op sort of game where you can play as Amanda, and the only other person that I can possibly think of where you would have a sort of semi sort of shooter to try and help you out would be Zula Hendricks. And then maybe that could tie in from, I don't know what the dates are as to when they're actually Alien Isolation is set and Rogue Incursion, but maybe the second part of Rogue Incursion could be where she actually meets Amanda again, because they do know each other quite well. And they actually meet in Alien Isolation too. That's probably what I would like to do. And I also would like to have just a kind of like how I wanted to see Romulus is like just everyone living in like Hadley's Hope or Jackson Star, everyone just living their lives, and now we have a breakout. But I would also like to see other creatures as well. So I'd like to see like experimentation, like maybe at the end of Alien Isolation where Ripley there's like a light on her at the end, so she's obviously been picked up. That maybe the company has picked her up, and they're taking her back for questioning or whatever, and they're in a science research center or something, and it just all goes wrong. Obviously, I don't know. There's quite a lot they could do, but there's loads and loads of things in the first Alien Isolation game that they didn't bring out for whatever reason. And I like the idea of a co-op campaign. That's what I like. I think that would be a really cool idea.
I think it's funny. I posted about this a little bit on the Instagram. Is asking if anyone wanted, like, if do you want Amanda's story to continue, or do you want it to just start up fresh with characters? And I'm on the side of I'd like it to start fresh. I get weird with, especially like Ripley's character, like obviously like Space Mom and stuff like that, and then the daughter, and then you see how that played out in Aliens, and then as far as like a Lauren Cannon thing goes, it starts to thread like a weird line. So I don't think it's impossible to make another great game with Amanda, and I think even if they do, I'm not gonna like start up the game and see her, and I'm like, okay, this isn't for me. Obviously, that's not what's gonna happen. Um, but I think it would be really cool to do another standalone game. I think gameplay, you can almost keep it the exact same. I mean, it's been over 10 years. In that span, I think you can just do almost something very similar. Obviously, some new equipment and things like that, but the same cat and mouse, um, as well as Hadley's Hope thing, like you were saying, Kyle. I think that would be really cool to where like it starts from something like that. I think in Mike's book, he also said that the creators would like to kind of have an aliens inspired take on it. But I don't think it could be.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
And to be fair, you should pick up the book because there's a lot more in it than just that. But he speaks with somebody who worked on the original game, who left before the announcement for the sequel came, and this person was mentioning that he always felt like it would be cool to try to make an aliens version of Isolation, where instead of just like wave based, shooting waves of aliens with pulse rifles, you deliver the actual like authentic fear and tension that's in Aliens, like Isolation does with Alien, but maybe with multiple creatures. I think that's what you're talking about, Mario, right?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. And I don't think that needs to be a shoot 'em up either. I think you could have multiple alien, like at the end of Isolation where there's more than one, it is absolutely terrifying. And you can't like because you can't look at both because they're usually not in the same spot. So you're kind of looking at one to dodge it and it comes for you. I think something in the sequel that I would love to see is that you get through this really rough part in the game and there's like a smart gun on the ground and you get this home like Doom animation where you're picking up the gun and you're like I'm ready to rip and it's just out of ammo, like it's just a total just a troll, like, and you can't use it, like you have this like great moment of I am about to like tear into something and it's totally like crashed. So like the aesthetics of Aliens I think you can follow, but as far as like a cat and mouse game, I would love to see. And one last thing I will add real quick. I love the idea of doing a Cold Forge, like that whole story in this style, and you play as two different characters. You play as Blue and you play as Dorian, and you go throughout the game changing back and forth between their perspectives. And I would love to play as Dorian opening up the doors to let the aliens go into like other. I feel like that would be such a blast to play as.
Well, they do that in Isolation as well. So all the other characters that are key to the downfall of Sevastopol, like Ransom, for example, you actually follow his path as to what actually happens to him. So you pick up the little recording notes that they leave around the station. Well, there's one where Ransom has got an android and it just attacks him in his apartment, and the DLC is where you can actually follow that story. And I really do like that idea. And I think that again, I personally would like to have another Amanda Ripley story. I'd like that to carry on, because even though like it does tie into Ellen, it does feel like it's still brand new. Even though we know obviously the connections to me, it still feels brand new. And I feel like, just based on how currently, in terms of like Aliens, where it's going at the moment with all new stories, new characters and stuff like that, they don't really seem to be hitting the mark properly, whereas Alien Isolation does. And I think a lot of people can agree with that, is that Alien Isolation did nail it. So for me, I would think, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Just carry on with Amanda, and go from there. And with Alien Isolation, obviously you can play as Ripley in her story. So the last survivor, where she's trying to escape, you play that scene. So in the next game, you may actually get to play as the military and go into the hive, do that whole scene, or as Ripley when she's escaping from the Queen Alien. So they might even chuck that little scene in there. I think I'd love to play that scene, that specific scene in the movie, like they did in the first Alien Isolation. I think that would be really, really cool. This game, I'm so excited. I've got so much information in my brain that I don't even know where to start with it all. I can't wait for it. And I think a lot of people would probably want to see a Queen in this one as well, because a lot of people were saying the Queen is in Alien Isolation. You can hear her screech and stuff like that.
I just watched the video.
Right?
Yeah. So
Patrick and I,
we almost did a whole episode on that. Remember,
Perry? We did.
we never did that. We got to go back to that.
I think
she did. The Queen is in the game, or at least the sound effects for it.
Yeah, it's implied that the Queen is there.
Yeah, and the whole sort of like big, I can't think what it's called, the big reactor where you go down into the nest. All of that was meant to be covered with her egg sac. And you were only meant to get a small glimpse of her, and she was just meant to turn her head and look at you, and then you just meant to bolt, but they obviously cut it or whatever. They didn't think it was the right thing to do. But the second one, that's the perfect opportunity to put that in. But I suppose it's just how are they going to do it, because Alien Isolation has just got such a unique formula that a lot of people haven't finished the game because it's too scary. They're not all lunatics like me, and they just play it to relax. And it's such a good game. And like 12 years that it's been out now?
11. Well, it's gonna be 12. We're coming up on 12.
Yeah, nearly 12 years.
Yeah.
I personally still play it now. Loads of Twitch streamers still play it, and they're just, it's amazing. So the formula that they've got works, and I think keeping that formula with a few little extras, they can't go wrong, as long as they just don't go too over the top. Because they could put in Easter eggs from Alien Earth if they want to, like the eye midge or the deep lumber core, like just to chuck it in, maybe a little thing or some new creatures or something. There's loads they could do, but without going too over the top and ruining it, because they already got an unfair review of Alien Isolation anyway. And if the second one comes out and it doesn't hit, it's just going to ruin the whole thing. They said that they're probably walking on thin ice anyway, because they got a lot of scrutiny unfairly, and they just kind of they just got to really make sure they nail it properly, which I'm sure they probably will, because they've got an amazing team doing it. So.
And it's worth pointing out that IGN has essentially retracted that review in the years since. Like, they've apologized for it, and the reviewer was like, I was wrong.
How many years later, though?
Yeah, it took years for them to do that. And you're right, the damage was done. Absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I got to say that, just to your earlier point about adding the Queen and stuff, like, to me, and Ross, like, I definitely, some of my favorite Isolation history is, like what didn't make it in the game, like the multiplayer mode and the chat mode and all these things that like were in the code for the game but didn't actually make it through. I think that's actually why Isolation is so great, because especially when you put it in like the pantheon of Alien gaming history, we had all these games that were so maximalist, where there was like so many weapons and so many things to do, and the maps were so big, and it was so fun, and the tech was so cool, and like you could play as the the Predator, you could play as the Marine, all these AVP games, all these things that were just really kind of like big messy games that were fun, but like but kind of lacked focus. And then Isolation is just this like pure distilled nightmare, this like little beam of black light that just shoots through the heart, and it reorients everything about what alien gaming is. Like, I mean, Isolation, to your point, is the high watermark of the modern Alien era. It is, in my mind, the most successful thing the franchise has had since Aliens came out to this day, including the new stuff, the new things that have come out. Isolation is basically as good as it gets. And I think had they had those additional play modes and those, networking modes and like larger things and had queens and stuff, I think it wouldn't have been quite as good. I think it's a poem because it's so pared down. It's almost like a haiku, right? The hard thing with haikus, as I'm not saying this, I'm like an expert in writing them. I'm assuming, I don't know, Kyle's an English teacher, he can correct me. It's that you have to make very hard decisions to do a lot with a little, right? To like get like the maximum amount of meaning out of just a few words. And I think Isolation's sequel to me needs to do that again, which is really hard to do, especially because there's so many more options now. And that this studio is going to have more money coming at it because this is such a beloved thing and people have been waiting for it for so long. And I think the challenge is going to be, how do we do another little crystalline expression of fear once again? Like, how do we pare away all the extra bullshit and tell a story that's really full of that darkness that we love? I think, to the points that I come up about Amanda and Zula, like, I think that could absolutely work, but I don't like the Brian Wood comics to this day. I like Tristan's artwork. Obviously, he's fucking brilliant. Like, but the story, like, it kind of turns into like, this kind of shoot 'em up, kind of like, best baddies like going into like arms together, like guns blazing. And I'm kind of like, it sort of feels in some ways tokenistic, to be honest, but it also feels a little bit like it becomes more kind of just generic Alien kind of storytelling. I think if we do continue Amanda's story, I would really like to see this be where she kind of diverts from her mother and from Ellen kind of being at the center of everything. Like, she's no longer really trying to find her mother or what happened. She's kind of on her own, and we get to see her kind of come into her own more and see how that develops. Of course, then we run into issues, right? Because like, although to like Kyle's point and others who have mentioned this, like Hadley's Hope, obviously, like getting something that's Hadley's Hopian is like, I think perfect. Like, I think that's exactly where it should go. But obviously, it can't be Hadley's Hope because like that would fuck canon up, right? So like, you need to figure out ways of like, how can we do this in a universe where the company would theoretically not really know that it happened, or if they did know that it happened, they wouldn't understand the type of threat, or they wouldn't have already been like looking for the bioweapons. Like, how do we kind of make this work while Ripley is out for 57 years, right? I think that's a big challenge, and I think if this is something where like Amanda ends up on another system somewhere and something goes horribly wrong and she still doesn't have any weapons, but because she's an engineer, is able to fabricate them from the environment in some way, able to set traps for them. But she's like really incredibly outmaneuvered because there's like dozens of aliens now instead of just one, and she's no longer on a ship. She's in like an open environment. And the aliens like have much better lines of sight to her, and she can't really hide in lockers anymore. Like that to me, I think is really scary. But I just worry that we end up with this kind of small universe problem where it's like this one family is the one family that all the alien stuff happens to, and it's, you know what I mean? So that's why, like, to the earlier point about when I was saying how I kind of wanted that to be a one-off story, ultimately I kind of still do, because I think that I think it's a bigger universe than we give it credit for.
I have a question, and I'll ask it, but I want to say a couple more things. What the question is, why couldn't Isolation 2 be aliens? That's my question. Secondly, I've been watching a certain series lately that I haven't seen in a few years, and I started thinking about Isolation. I thought, this series reminds me tonally of Isolation, and that series is Chernobyl. There's something about Chernobyl and Isolation, that like quiet terror, that quiet enemy that, like, of course in Chernobyl it's invisible. An alien, it also is essentially invisible, but it's out there, this threat. And I realized, wow, this is really the secret to like this show, this IP. Like the people behind isolation understood that quiet terror, that unseen terror, that every room that you walk into, you don't know. And they give it time and they give it space. So I wanted to say that, and I'll riff on that later on, but I am curious why Isolation 2 can't be an alien story or
Do
a
you
Hadley's Hope
mean
story specifically. Like, why can't they just, like, why can't it just be about Hadley's Hope?
Well, I
so?
think there was
Yeah, sorry,
something
Kat.
in the chat that I thought was really cool, and important to talk about that kind of goes after that a little bit, Jamie. Like they were talking about how um rogue incursion making it easy to kill the Xenos when there's a ton of them kind of takes away a bit of that fear, and I 100% agree with that. I still want to see an alien that we feel like we cannot, like if they get to us, it's lights out. Like I want that power to still rest with the Xeno that we have in the second one. Um, I think it might be cool if we add things that are given some spotlight in Aliens, like the scene where Ripley and Newt are sleeping and there are two face huggers. What about face huggers? There's like no face huggers in there's barely any face huggers. I mean, there's that whole section at in the like the basement area where all the eggs
In the
are, but I
hive.
would love
Yeah.
to see more with face huggers. Like maybe you don't see them coming. I thought that the mechanic that they have when you just kind of hear something was really, really chilling. But it would be cool to see that. Of course, I would love to see what they would do with the queen, but I think you hit the nail on the head, Patrick. And like they kind of have to replicate the absolute magic of the first one without actually replicating it. The last thing I'll say is like personally, I love Amanda Ripley. I will follow her just like I'll follow Ellen Ripley anywhere, but I love Amanda. I would love to see more from her. I would love to see her dealing with the fallout of the trauma of what happened to her. Like that's horrible what she went through. Maybe she is literally like can't even keep a job anymore. Like she's like down. She has to break herself out of her own thing. Like I would love to see something like that where we're not just seeing another Ellen Ripley who is like, I got to go back in and kill the aliens again. So it would be cool to see what Amanda's reaction is to surviving the xenomorph would be.
Well, can I just say um with Amanda now, she she knows what's happened to her mum now. Um, so she probably has no need to look for her because she's probably assuming that she's died. Um, so I think what would be a good part for the game is if it starts off as a new character. Actually, it just popped to my head. This might be a good idea. And you're Amanda's husband, and you catch up to Amanda towards the middle of the game, and he encounters the aliens as well. Because then that kind of closed. Because I'm pretty sure she dies of cancer by the time Ripley comes back around. It dies at 66.
63, I think.
Yeah. And she dies of cancer, and she's married, but she doesn't have any
If
kids.
that's true. If
Well,
Weyland-Yutani isn't just
yes,
feeding her a line, which I think is a great possibility.
yes,
Mhm.
that is also a great possibility. Yes, I didn't think of that actually. So that's my theory gone out the window. Um, yeah, but I want to continue the story with Amanda Ripley. I think it's amazing. It's new. With the aliens question that you were talking about, Jamie, I think people just want new stuff. Like with DLC is where you can replay parts of the movie, kind of like you did for the DLC for Alien Isolation, where you can play Alien itself. You can play as Parker and all that sort of stuff. Um, so I think as DLC you could play as Hicks, or Apone or whatever, and go infiltrate the nest and stuff like that. Um, and I do think you're right, Patrick, in terms of like we don't really want the alien to take, it wouldn't quite feel right. But however, I would still quite like to see the alien, or the queen, sorry. And maybe like you're literally just stuck in this chamber full of eggs, and you just got to try and find your way out. Where there's no Xenos, it's just literally just face huggers everywhere, and they're trying to catch you, and you've literally just got to run. But you have seen the queen there, and she's just like hissing, and then all of a sudden, all the eggs just open all at once, and you're like, "Oh shit, I'm in trouble now." And then you squirm all through tunnels and stuff, and like you're having to kill these facehuggers with your bare hands and stuff. I think that'd be really, really cool. And like I said before, like they've got such a unique game, a unique style as well. Even to the fact that that they've got androids, but the main androids are just like mannequins. I'd love to see those again. And I think really keep what they've got, but add layers to it as well. So add extras. So for me, I mean, I was playing Isolation today, surprise, surprise, because I play it all the time. And it's like you can just go into a vent and there's no alien there. It drops down and then comes for you. What if you like use open vents and sometimes the alien is just already sitting there like sleeping or something, and then you disturb it. So try and make it harder that way. Humans and androids can't get you in the vents. So how about if you go into the vent, you're still not safe and they're just crawling at you in the vents, and you're having to walk out backwards, and you see these red glowing eyes just coming towards you. So I think what they need to do is they need to add new levels of fear by taking away comforts that's made you feel safe in the first game. So, you can't hide in every single locker. Like if you hide under a table for too long, like you can just flip it over if you walk around too fast or something. So that the tables aren't stuck. If you go into it too fast, the whole table will fall over and it creates a lot more noise and stuff. So I think, yeah, take away your safety nets from the first game, and just create more fear, panic, and heart attacks in the second one. And that's what I would do. I'll just make everyone have PTSD.
All right, I'll jump in really quick because I had my. Oh, Andy, I'm sorry. Go for it. Sorry.
No. You had your hand raised, so go ahead. I'll go after you.
All right.
I don't think anybody's ever raised their hand.
So
before.
polite.
So,
Yeah.
I've
I
never
love
seen
it.
like, what the fuck?
I was like, he's a teacher, okay? I
Hey,
get it.
Yeah.
I was trying to do it right because Ross brought up what I was going to talk to later about, but I do think there needs to be like a more intense like cultivation of fear in this film, film, you might as well call it. I mean, that's like every sequel, you want it to be darker and heavier, right? But like actually, like I do think there needs to be an intensity. If people thought the first one was afraid on Nightmare Mode, or like the mods you could watch on like YouTube, that just you already know, Ross, it's a nightmare.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, it's terrible. But like you can make it even harder and scarier. And I think that, the smart people in why am I forgetting the developer's name off the top
The
of my head?
Creative Assembly.
Creative Assembly, yes, thank you. I think they probably know that. They probably want to watch that. They've watched some, I'm sure, to see what they've done with their kid, if you will. Like, their child has now been modified into X, Y, and Z, which is sick. But anyway, I hope they pull from like more body horror and really make like this fear of entrapment if they are in a hive, where I think we need to see real suffering. We really didn't, if you think about it, with the humans. Like, yeah, like you see it a little bit, but like I'm talking about, like, no, she gets captured again and she's in the hive. She's not dead. And she's seeing someone getting face hugged. She's talking to someone. You know what I mean? Like really like upping the humanism, but also like the dehumanizing nature of this IP as well, where she's like literally on the wall, or it's similar to, let's say, the first Aliens comic I actually ever watched, listened, no, I can't talk tonight, read, was Labyrinth. And Labyrinth, as you know, I'm not going to ruin it if you haven't read it, it's something. So, especially with the body horror in it, like it is not healthy. Like, it's unsettling. So I think they need to go that. If people were too scared 10 years, 12, 11 years ago, almost 12 years ago, we need to make it even worse, I think. And I think that's how you're going to do it. Not for the sake of making it like scary and then like it's nothing and it's like, silly, but I think in the sense of like, they have to get into the psychology of it, like, and really, really manipulate that to see suffering. But that's really where I'm at because I think the Hive can do that because we really don't see much of that in the actual IP, besides moments in Aliens, moments, and even in Resurrection, you do if you think about it. But you don't really know the dynamics of being in that space for a long period of time. The comics know it, but that's really it. And yeah, that was it. But yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I like I'm gonna piggyback off both what you just said, Kyle, about the psychology of it, and Micah. I love your idea about if it is a continuation of Amanda's story, not having her join in the second one like Ripley did in Aliens, like let's go back. Um, I kind of like the idea of maybe taking that Walter Hill Sigourney, that 50-page treatment that Sigourney was talking about, and maybe have Amanda start off in a like psych ward, like maybe start it off like totally disorienting, where you don't know where you are, just like she would wake up and have it be psychological at first and have the enemy be the humans first, and then maybe take that story from there. I kind of, because I don't think that treatment's happening, but I love that idea of, you know, basically just being written off as psychotic and Weyland-Yutani doing whatever they want with her. Um, and then introducing, like you were saying, more face huggers, not just the Xenos. Listen, confession, I didn't make it to the end. I didn't play that the game scares me and I'm not really good at gaming, but the psychology of it and the horror of it definitely hit. I mean, I scream every time I play. Um, but I would love to see it start off really like psychologically just scary, slow. Where is she? And have the humans be the enemy first. I don't know. That's what I was toying with.
Yeah, not to reiterate a lot of what you guys have been saying, and it's been great, and I agree with a lot of it. I also love Amanda Ripley. I would love to follow her story, her character for sure. Um, I also really enjoyed, I know I've said this many times, but I've come from like the Half-Life, growing up playing Half-Life. I really enjoyed playing the different perspectives throughout like the same situation that's happening. And then they had like the expansion packs where you could play the different characters from different perspectives happening at the same time as what you were doing with Amanda. And Ross, I know you were mentioning, obviously, with the other DLCs, you get to do that definitely a little bit. It would be cool. I know I at least would appreciate maybe more of that, or like maybe there's these flashbacks you get to go back into and play more like longer sequences of those types of things. Um, I would also love to go back into the derelict again, and have like maybe you're not oh my God, I'm blanking on his name. The character who
Marlo?
you Marlo,
King?
thank
Oh,
you. Yeah. Jamie. Um, yeah, no, just being able to like maybe there you play the story that is new that you're carrying on with Amanda. Maybe there's this other incident with going to the derelict and you get to do that again. Not the same thing again, but maybe it's a little bit different this time, or there's just like another way that we get to explore that again a little bit more. I also think would be fun. But I am really digging like what you guys are saying about the hive getting to be more terrified psychologically in that space, feeling claustrophobic, and just living in that, a little bit more. I think, Kyle, you brought it up in the very beginning, just like Amanda being so, she's already like established as this character that knows things, what she's doing. And so we obviously don't need to like go in reverse from that, and so we can like be carrying on from that. And so just having that information, having that knowledge, having those mechanics of the game already set, what can they do to build upon that to bring that terror, bring that fear with those mechanics like already there again? Which I know you all brought up some really great examples of how, certainly we can do that. But yeah, I really love the aspect of having two different perspectives, like even playing, even if it is an entirely brand new story, maybe, Mario break, talking about, or Kyle too, just talking about like the aliens aspect of games, like that was more alien. Will this be aliens? Maybe there we get a different perspective that adds that detail to it, but we still get like the main theme of the game is obviously, what you experienced in isolation. And yeah, it'll be tricky. Like, how do they expand it into the lore? What can they do there? But I don't know. Again, I just feel like they could make something up, with Amanda, and like they take her to a somewhere that's been cut off from the rest of everything, and sure, there's probably going to be a similar trope where an egg pops up again or something, but let's have it be a hive, and let's have the thing that gets face hugged be like an animal, right? Like how cool would it be to be like running from the beast again, or a gorilla alien, Patrick?
Went right to that. Yeah.
Yeah. Or some, yes, Ross. But you know what I
So
mean?
much
Like
so.
I think that it's not running from the Xeno and having it be something else that was face hugged. I think right there already adds a level of intense fear and mystery around like what you are crawling through the air ducts from and things like that. Like you don't know how this thing might react, how it finds you, things like that. Like there's so much they could build there, right? And so yeah, that I just wanted to add those little bits and pieces. And now, Ross, I see your hand is raised. You're so polite, you guys. Ross calling on you. Dead
Yeah,
Dark.
no, no, normally I'm not that polite, but I saw it, so I thought I'll just be nice. Yeah, I think yeah, Alien Isolation has got a really, really unique
Good
What was
Lord.
that for a
Ross,
jump
Oh,
scare?
no.
Ross just
Oh, no.
jettisoned
Ow.
out the airlock.
We've lost Ross.
That was
Oh, no.
crazy.
Listeners.
Wow.
Literally
Oh,
out the
no.
airlock.
Yeah, that was
Literally.
Oh,
wild.
here he is.
While he's
Sequel.
while he's getting back on, let's just a couple quick things in the chat I want to call out, and then we'll hand it back to Ross. Um, Ross, welcome back.
Sorry, that's
They
perfect.
got a really unique opportunity to tell me to piss off.
Yeah. All right, finish your comment, and then I want to go to a couple things from the chat. Finish what
Yeah.
you're saying.
So, but yeah, basically what I was saying is that they've got a really unique opportunity to really experiment with the xenomorph as well. And for me, I want them to do a mantis alien. That's what I want them to do, or a gorilla one, or whatever. But I really want them to do a mantis alien because they can really go deep into the way a mantis is, because they sit in cocoons, mantises do, and then they breed, and they get they're a little bit smaller, and then they eventually evolve into a third stage of their main form of the mantis. So I think like if say Ripley has been found and she's in a hospital, she's in a Weyland-Yutani hospital, but they're also doing research in there, and she can see all these experiments of what's going on. Because in Alien Isolation, you never saw a chest burster. There's no chest burster in there in Alien Isolation. So she could be sitting in a hospital bed, she's walking around, she's thinking she's safe, blah, 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 blah. And then she's like, research and development lab. So she peeks through, has a look in, or breaks in, because she's an engineer, she can do all these sorts of things, and she's looking around and she can see hosts, she can see experimentation with animals and different xenomorphs, and she's like, what the hell are you guys doing? So then she escapes. The Weyland-Yutani or scientists and security guards are trying to track her down up on board this Weyland-Yutani hospital. Then she steps into this massive room, and there's a load of chest bursters happening at the same time. Security's like, what the hell are you doing in here? She tries to escape, and she she's been attacked by different types of Xenos, and they all do different types of things. So one is really fast, you can't run from it. You literally have to just completely hide. One of them's really weak, and you can shoot it. So you have like 10 bullets in a pulse rifle. They're really, really sparing. So they've got loads of different things they can do with different Xenos, depending on what host they've come from or what they've been experimented on. Because Alien Isolation, the reason why people felt so isolated is because you literally had no help from anybody. In any sort of like apocalyptic situation or something like that, people tend to gather in gangs and stick together. No one is allowed in our group. That's what all the people did on Sevastopol. They stuck together. You couldn't trust humans at all. So like, right, I'm completely on my, I can't even trust my own species. I've got an alien hunting me, humans are hunting me, and I've got Mannequin 3000 androids trying to kill me as well. I can't even trust those. So that's what made that so isolating as well. So if you chuck in also as well, like different types of Xenos, so she thinks she understands what she's just escaped from, it adds more fear to her and to us, because we're like, oh, I don't know what these are going to do now, because this isn't the same as the first game. So I think that would be a cool idea. And I'll try not to leave the chat again.
We get shucked out. It kind of sounds, and like they said this a little bit in the chat too. I'm like all about the chat today. Love it, you guys. They said this in the chat. It's kind of like the humans not trusting humans, a la The Last of Us, where the humans are almost like worse than the infected in that. Where if we have like just people on, like say Sevastopol, and everyone is looking to survive, and they've become these brutal threats themselves, I think that would be really interesting. And that always adds a layer of, well, I'm just never going to be safe. Because if Amanda's the only one who's actually trying to get out alive, and if she encounters another person, try to at least help them along the way, and you have to deal with mistrust and even brutal, like sort of masochistic gangs everywhere. Like, I think that would be really cool. I do really love the idea of the different aliens though, and her being constantly surprised and having to really access her engineering brain to adapt each time. And like a lot of near misses would be really cool and scary.
Jamie's literally raising his hand right now. Are you raising your hand?
I did. So I want to get back to like kind of discuss the story of Isolation 2. And I know like Ross is talking about like different kind of aliens and like different kinds of setups and scenes, but I'm curious like to go back to the idea of aliens, like aliens isolation. And I think in my mind how that would work, and who knows what they're going to do. I mean, I again, just to reiterate that you guys don't know, but just in case there are listeners who don't know, I've played the game here and there. I've walked into walls essentially for like 5 hours walking into walls because I don't know shit. And I'm old now. Right, Andy?
Speak
But
for yourself.
I think about if they would do an aliens game in terms of like a story, you could set it in Hadley's Hope, but it's a new character and it's someone who it starts off slow. They're like, something's up, something's wrong, someone's missing. Who is missing? And the story that we follow them, this new character, as before the fall of Hadley's Hope. And so you're following that character before the fall of Hadley's Hope, through the fall of Hadley's Hope, until their demise or escape or something like that. So it's a way into the story that's not just Marines, but who knows, maybe there's a battalion of Marines there at some point, or 3 or 4. I don't know what Weyland-Yutani their practices would be, but something that then you could have this component of the game where, and I mentioned this in another chat or conversation, where you get the entire cast of aliens together again for like a bug hunt. What's going on before Hadley's Hope, much like they did with Isolation, where they got the cast of Alien together for sort of something different. But what I love about Isolation again is the tone, is that like psychological scary tone. And what comes to mind as well is, I don't know if who's seen the remake of the Invisible Man with Elizabeth Moss.
Yeah,
and
movie.
if you look at that storytelling, the camera is panning and sitting in rooms because she doesn't know who's with her. And you are the POV of the camera, and the camera is just staring, and it's like, who's in this room? Who do we think is in this room? And Isolation does that too. Where is this thing? Where is this thing? And I think honestly, and can be a discussion for maybe the news part when we get on to what's going on with like the films and the shows. But like, I think what's been missing from the movies and the show is that sense of where is this thing? That taking, I mean, why Isolation is scary as fuck is because you're in this environment and you have no idea where this thing is, and you're in there for hours, walking, doing what you're supposed to do, going where you need to go, not knowing what's behind you, not knowing what's in front of you. And that tension, to me, as a layperson, makes that game. And I feel like they could really do that with a Hadley's Hope story. Honestly, it would make a great show too, where you're following somebody on in that colony, who we don't know, who is, it's almost like a film noir, or it's like a not a whodunit, but like you're on a case, and you're like, well, what's going on? Where is so and so? They're always in their quarters or whatever, and so there's conversations. Where did this person go? When's the last time you've seen them? Where did they go? And maybe they were out into that derelict, but nobody knew. Whereas, like with the Jordans, Newt's family, I know that there's a little bit of reporting, there's a little bit of story, but I would imagine there was probably other people that Burke sent into that place. And I just think that Hadley's Hope is full of story there, where we could re-engage that story in a new way, completely turning that experience into something that we haven't seen before in a game or a show, but certainly a game.
Let me just do a couple quick things in the chat that I wanted to get back to, and I do want to get back to Jamie's point about story, and to say that, you know, it could be that we just follow other like wildcatters, you know, and we see what their lives are like, and then we kind of see what that, and then we get to kind of like interact with Newt's family at some point, and we get to kind of like see them before the end. And yeah, I think you're absolutely right. There's a lot there. And I would say that before Alien Earth, I would have been like, I don't think we can do that because there's too many books and too many comics that happened during that exact stretch of time that it would be really hard to like not screw the canon up. But Alien Earth showed us that it's okay to just sort of disregard canon sometimes if you're going to, you know, I mean, maybe that's the new precedent we have. Who knows? For better or for worse. But you know, I think that there's definitely stories that can be told there. I want to go back though in the chat. Oh man, I've like lost who said it at this point. I'm gonna find it. Give me 10 seconds. We will edit this down so it seems really seamless. The chat is just on fire tonight. Give me okay.
You're welcome.
So here we go. All right, so Stan Vlad 1077 brought up Amnesia the Bunker. Amnesia the Bunker is a great game. I don't know if anybody has played that. It was very directly inspired by Alien Isolation, but it takes that same idea and it puts it in the bunkers of in like the bunkers behind the lines of World War I. So you're playing, you're basically being like stalked by this fucking terrifying giant kind of zombie-esque creature from like the Amnesia series. But while there's a war happening and while there's dead bodies falling all over the place, and it's really, really scary. And it's probably the scariest thing other than, oh my God, what was that? What was that game that we like couldn't even finish, Micah?
Visage.
Yeah, Visage. God, Visage is so fucking scary.
So
other than that,
never
Amnesia the Bunker is the scariest thing since Isolation, and it's very much the same idea. So that's a good example of mapping the kind of idea of isolation into a very different setting, which goes to what we've been saying, where were this to be, you know, Hadley's Hope, you could have isolation-esque things happening, but in an open environment or in a bar somewhere, you know, on LV426, etc. And then one other thing is Beheil E3W says introducing a sanity mechanic a la the one that's in the Amnesia games would be really cool too. And we could maybe use this as a way to explore her journey with PTSD, which has come up quite a few times tonight, about this idea of the lingering mental fallout from going through what she went through. And then I propose this thing, which maybe is a stupid idea, but like, what if we go through this whole game in, you know, a hospital somewhere, right? Like she's been kind of quarantined against her will so that the company can't, you know, so that she can't say things in public against the company. They've kind of like, you know, marooned her in this far off kind of psych planet, which is really just essentially a prison sentence. And in that environment, like Ross is saying, we have an outbreak of some kind. We have aliens getting out, and since she's kind of running from them in there. But what if, like, towards the end of the game, her PTSD gets triggered by something, and all of a sudden we're back on Sevastopol, and she like can't get out of it, like she's suddenly just stuck there. How cool it would be to go back there again after like a whole other game worth of playing. I don't know. I think Perry was mentioning the derelict. To me, one of the great beautiful things about isolation, of the many beautiful things, is how surprising it is the first time you play it, because nobody who fired it up in 2014 was expecting there to be a hive and was expecting there to be like hundreds of aliens, let alone, more than one. I mean, I don't think anybody would have ever expected to see all of that stuff happening, but also nobody was expecting to see the derelict. Like, that was something that that was not spoiled for me, because we got this right when it came out and we inched our way through it gradually. And when I got to that, it took my breath away. I mean, we did an episode a long time ago for Alien Day where we were talking about our favorite moments in all of Alien. That is like one of my favorite top 5 moments ever in anything, is getting the unexpected visit back to the derelict and having to navigate your way, with the tracker to get through the fog, and you're totally disoriented. And then it just kind of rises in the mist like some ancient citadel, and it's just there, and it's so beautiful and so frightening. I think there's a precedent in isolation for surprising things in terms of form. So that's why I'm saying something like a PTSD flashback sticking you back in Sevastopol at the end of the game could be, I think, really, really interesting. And I'm glad this is coming up in the chat.
Me. Okay, I want to piggyback off of that. I can't help it. I'm gonna bring up Kronos real quick. I'm sorry. I can't help it. No, but listen. The PTSD thing, I like that idea of the mechanic where we just like kind of start losing faith in our own selves. You know what I mean? Like you were saying, like maybe Amanda is in this like crazy planet, and as she gets re-triggered and re-traumatized, she's flashing back to Sevastopol, and all of a sudden we're there, and we don't know if we're really there or if we're just in a flashback. There's moments in Kronos where you as the traveler aren't sure what you're seeing is real or not with the orphans. Like sometimes there's like a whole room full of them and you don't know, oh, am I supposed to be fighting them, or is it real or not? And then they like disappear all of a sudden. And yeah, I think that would be really cool layer on top of the real actual threats of whatever creatures we have, whatever Xenos, whatever face huggers, whatever eye midges. That would be cool.
Well, you got to think about it too. It's like Dead Space a little bit. Like when you got into Dead Space 2 after the first game, there were like, after understanding the mechanics, cut off their limbs, that sort of thing. And Kronos obviously has a similar way of doing that with your enemies. But what terrified me with Dead Space when I first played it in Dead Space 2 is it upped the ante with the infected, or what are they? Isn't there a term for it in
The necromorphs.
the necromorphs? Thank you. And there's like the ones without the arms, and they like run on their feet. They look like ostriches kind of, but you knew that when you saw them, they were like, they kind of had you'd hear them, and then they'd like run at you super fast, and you could never like kill them. You know what I mean? Or like you could kill, you know what I mean? But they would like, the first time you experienced that, you were like, holy shit, this is totally different from than what I've been dealing with the rest of the game. Um, and then Dead Space 3 kind of has a moment in there too where you have to fight off a bunch of those. Um, but those things always like freaked me out. And so to Ross's point, it would be cool, like with the Mantis alien or something else, right? Where they add that piece of it, right? Like Kronos a little bit too. There's like these different forms of Xenos that you don't know what they do. You essentially have to be killed by them to figure out like how they move or how they attack or whatever, and then walk into that space or that area, that level again, and try to figure out and be smart about what you're doing. I also really enjoy like the puzzles, the engineering aspect to Amanda too, right? So if they could like make the puzzles and things like that a little bit harder, or like where you'd have to you know, where you were unlocking doors, you were like patching in and unlocking doors, because that was another beautiful thing about isolation, is that you got to play with the technology on the ship like so much, like not just logging into the Sevastopol computers and reading the logs and things like that, but like cracking the codes to get doors open or what have you. Like make that, do all of that again, but up the ante on that too, is just something that I hope we get to experience as well. So anyway, I'll stop rambling. Ross, again, hand raised. I love it. Ross in the back, please.
Do you want to say something, Jamie?
Oh,
Yeah, sorry. After Ross, let's move on to the news. Also want to make sure everyone else has a chance to talk, like Mario and
Which
whoever else.
Does anyone else want to speak first before I speak? Because I can go on forever.
I did have a few things real quick, Ross. Um, Jamie, to your point about like the aliens thing and like the Have These Hope story, I would love to go back there and find out why that donut was left with one bite in it. Like, did someone get grabbed right there? I mean, that whole thing where they go into the colony, I mean, really does set up for like a really fun game. I will argue and say if they brought back, and this pains me to say because I love them all so much, bring back all the Marines. I think any type, I hate that I'm actually saying this, any type of pulse rifle to like actually kill the alien, I think kind of takes away from like what isolation is. And to be able to just, unless it's like a one-off type of, not like it's part of the game, like you pick that up for a second and you have like a couple rounds and you blow away an alien as just like that like mission of the game, I think would be okay. But to like even have a DLC of like bring the Marines back and go through the hive, I think being able to just like blow away any of the aliens kind of is a bit troublesome. But as far as starting in the colony with the outbreak, I think would be beautiful. And then as a DLC, I think you could play as Newt almost and her navigating through the tunnels. I think could be a really cool DLC. I also want to say Andy, the whole like Amanda thing, like being like totally crazy. I love like as if that's how they continue Amanda's story, I'm all for that. And also something that Ross and Perry were talking about as like different kind of Xenos and stuff like that, and going into the derelict. I think the maybe not the one from LV-426, but almost one. I can't believe I'm going to say this either. Prometheus, where they go into it and all the pods and all the stuff on the wall. Like if you're stuck, like you give me a couple missions like in that ship where it's super dark and you have a flashlight and you're going through the different rooms trying to like navigate, and then that's where the weird things start to happen. You're not having a nice conversation with a hammerpede. Obviously, that wouldn't be too horrific. Maybe, but maybe that shows up and you're trying to hide from it or something bad happens like that. Um, but yeah, no, I would love to revisit Derelict and be in that kind of ship setting with some new aliens. I think that would be really scary.
Field's just chasing you. You know, you're just hiding from Field.
Okay, Ross, if you want to go, and then we'll move on to
Yeah.
the last part.
Okay. So what I like, if they're going to have a pulse rifle in the gun, how are they going to still keep it the same sort of terror as the first game? So for me, limited ammo, and also as well, I think make it like Dead Space. So if you are going to kill a Xeno, if you shoot its legs, it's just still crawling on the floor to get to you. That exactly the same as Dead Space. I think that would be, especially if it's one of those bloody androids, because if you blasted it away, your heart rate drops a little bit, and then its head just pops up, and it's malfunction. It's speaking Shakespearean like they normally do, and it's just still crawling towards you, and you're like, what the is going on here? I think that would be really cool. I really, really, really do like the idea that Amanda's losing her mind. So what I would propose to do is, how are you gonna do that to make her I'm not really sure about going back to Sevastopol, but if they do it, how are they going to do it? And for me, what I would do is have a PTSD type meter. So the longer you go on without resting, your PTSD meter goes up. Now, what I think would be a cool mechanic is to go to sleep, which is the worst thing you want to do in a situation where you need to be alert. So the longer you go without sleep, the more hallucinations start, because the longer you go without sleep, you start hallucinating. And I think that would be a really cool mechanic. So you are literally, it's another fear factor. It's like you need to find somewhere in this station where you can make the screen go black for a little bit to get some of your energy back. And then you wake up, and then maybe you've been caught and you haven't even realized, and you're in a nest. So maybe some kind of mechanic like that where you are forced to close your eyes and let whatever happens to you. I think that would be a really cool idea, because then you can chuck in hallucinations of her back in Sevastopol, and all these sorts of things. Because then I think then that would make sense. It's like, why am I back in Sevastopol? Because then it takes away the immersion of you being in Sevastopol, as though, because what really worked for Alien Isolation is it made you feel you were actually there, which I'm pretty sure they said that in interviews. They wanted to make you feel you were in the station, that you're using this type of technology. So I think by if you're walking around and all of a sudden like you're just seeing things that aren't really there, I feel it might take you away from it. But if you're experiencing, you've actually got PTSD from what's happened to you before, and you're struggling, you're having panic attacks and things like that for real, you're immersed in yourself, you're immersed in it, you feel like you're going through it with Amanda. So I think adding some kind of panic attack sort of mode where you're living that, I think that would really be a really cool addition to the new game. Because in Alien Isolation, like when you're holding a gun, you actually see her hand shaking. I don't know if anybody has noticed that. So she is scared, but I think like now that she's been through all this, it's going to be up here. And I think putting that fear factor in for us as game players, they need to ramp it up, and I think something like that would be really, really, really cool. And in the Alien Isolation mechanic, this is my last point, by the way. The puzzles and things like that, and making the weapons and stuff. Originally, they were meant to be that you actually had to physically put them together yourself to make a noisemaker. So I think maybe adding that in now would be a good addition, because you can't now just, because when I've got the menu up and I'm just pressing all these buttons, I can do it really, really quick. But if you're actually forced to slow down and say, right, I need this, turn it like that, push it together, press enter, now I've made a noisemaker. And that's like a minute. And that's a long time when you can hear Stumpy walking around, drooling, trying to find you. Your panic meter is going to be rising up, which then could cause you to have hallucinations, panic attacks, which is something you want to try and control as the character, because you're going to be in danger. So I think it's possible. I think they could do it. I think
we should just write it for them,
Do you know,
like we kind of did it, right?
They are hiring,
Hey, listen, Creative Assembly, get me involved, all right? Yeah, if
we will take commission.
Join our Patreon, and then we can talk.
Join the Patreon.
Yes.
Speak to me directly, and I will help you. I will do it for free. I'll do it.
Ross can also do all the art design too.
Yeah,
so there you go. Two for one.
All right, we do have to move to news because it's getting late.
Yeah.
If that's okay, Kyle, you have your hand raised. You have a super quick.
Literally,
super quick.
All I was gonna say is that it reminds me of Max Payne. If you've been playing Max Payne, like in the PTSD of him like walking on a trail of blood because his family is murdered like pretty much in front of him, and if you fall off, you got to restart it. It's not exactly the same in like those mechanics like in the actual game, but it reminds me of that, and I think trauma could be that gateway into it. So brilliant points, everyone. That is all.
Yeah, I love that. We've experienced a lot of body horror. We have not experienced a lot of literal psychological horror before. It's there. So let's move on to news. Big news that came out today. Oh my God, Ross, it's got to be quick.
This is the last thing, because I've just seen it in a chat. Sorry. The save point that's in Alien Isolation, get rid of that. Your save point is resting and sleeping. That's how you
like
save.
Minecraft.
Yeah, like that. That's what
Literally.
I would do. Get rid of the save point, and to save the game, you have to go to sleep wherever you are. But you run the risk of being
You're
found
vulnerable.
I
by
love that. Yeah.
That's cool.
That
You're
is
vulnerable.
Because
terrifying.
that's real. That's
Yeah.
Okay,
reality.
creative assembly. You heard it
You're
here
welcome.
first.
It's like when a crab is shedding its carapace. All right, everybody, shut up. We got to move to news. That's a great idea, though. Okay, so big news today is Peter Dinklage is in Alien Earth season 2. What? Like, that is a crazy, crazy development that I think is extremely exciting. But for some reason, like, it just, I thought it was a joke for some reason. Like, I was like, it's not April Fool's. But then, like, it was like 4 or 5 people sent it to me. And then Jamie put it in the chat. And I was like, this obviously is a real thing. I think it felt like it was such a strange time to get a casting announcement for it. But they are about to start filming it. So I guess it makes sense. Anyway, big news. What do people think about it?
Pumped. think
I
he's
like
awesome.
it.
I like it.
Yeah, he's a great character actor. It obviously adds like a new dynamic to the show. He's very powerful. He's very like his characters are very he can take charge of the scene, if that makes sense, in the characters that he has played. And yeah, I just like that. Bring it in. Maybe we don't know who he's playing, but I think it adds a cool dynamic to the gang of cast that they have.
He's got great range. Like he can
Yes.
do many,
Thank
many,
you.
many things.
That's what I
And
meant.
I think, yeah, he's just gonna be completely captivating, in whatever capacity he is. It's gonna be really cool to see.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
just say
I
bring on new characters, and I think he'll add a really cool dynamic. Um, I have a feeling like I don't know. I see him as a villain in this, but I could be wrong. He could be, but that's where I just see it. Um, but I want new characters. I want to mix it up a little bit, I think. So I'm excited because for a while I was just sort of like, okay, any like new thing like this, and I think I mean, he's great and everything. So
yeah,
I think he
he's
is
a
great,
great
but
actor. Great
yeah, he's a
actor.
great actor, but it doesn't matter if he's a great actor if it's not a good, you know what I mean? Like, sure, that's great. Like, but he better have good material. If he doesn't have good material, it doesn't matter.
That's the thing. And I think I presume he obviously fully knows the script. He seems quite particular in what he takes on anyway. So that's why I'm quite hopeful. And um, the sort of roles that he's played, especially I don't know if anybody's seen the new Dexter Resurrection. He played a amazing character in that. He was brilliant. He is a really good actor, and do you know what? He kind of seems like he does fit in the Alien universe. He, he's definitely going to be some kind of corporate executive. I can't see him being anybody else. Like, he's probably going to be one of the other
One of the other
corporations that we.
CEOs. Yeah.
Yeah, yes,
I
one
was
of the
thinking
other
the same
That's
CEOs.
what I
thing.
was thinking. Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
yes.
which is the obvious choice. But then, do I say this? Do I say this now? Am I going to get in trouble?
No short jokes.
Now you
Don't
gotta say it.
no
No,
body
no,
jokes
nothing
or
like
anything
that.
like
It was
that.
it was just going
Just
to be.
long
Oh
jokes.
yeah,
Just
no.
long jokes.
No, it wasn't anything like that. It was basically I am really curious to see if he was a host, what the alien would look like. And I think that about all types of creatures, people, humans, all that sort of stuff. Like for example, in the books in Alien Filtration, the xenomorph Monica took on her personality. And she was a lot taller, and the alien was a lot quite skinny and leathery because she was quite old as well. So I'm just wondering whether they would take on his character as well, whether you get a shorter alien or whether it would just be the complete reverse and just be 3 times bigger than a normal alien. Um, and maybe they might actually pay some decent attention to the alien suit in this series as well, but that's just something else.
I mean, they did have a kid impregnated in AVPR. Not that I want to bring that up, but as far as like size wise, I don't think that was an issue there. But I totally agree with you guys as far as like him. Now, I haven't seen too much of his stuff. Sadly, Perry, like you were saying earlier, Elf is one, and then believe it or not, Wicked would be the other one that I can think of off the top of my head, as the goat character. But I could totally see him being ahead of the one of the I can't remember what the other actual companies are, but like the pissing match between like Boy K and Utani, and then he kind
Threshold
of comes
or
in.
one of those Lynch dynamic threshold. Yeah.
Yeah, like one of those steps in between the pissing match between Boy K and Utani, and just like overarching, just like power and shit like that. Just come in and just like, oh shit, who is this guy? I think that would be really cool.
He also comes with a lot of brand cachet. I mean, like it's easy to forget what a huge deal Game of Thrones was, you know, in its heyday, but that was like the biggest thing on screens, period. And he was a major reason for that. Like his portrayal is incredible. And I think, you know, it'll get a lot of eyes. You know, there's a lot of Dinklage fans out there that are looking to see what he's up to. You know, I think that's great, and I think it is a really exciting development, and I can't wait to see what he can do with good material. Which, you know, fingers crossed he gets. I think it could be really, really cool. Any other news we wanted to cover before we close out? Jamie, you wanted to do a little kind of speculation, right?
Yeah, what was I going to speculate on? I'm sorry, I don't even.
Just kind of the state of, you know, where we're at with any kind of recent things that have come up.
I will say one thing. I did see something interesting, and I haven't listened to the episode, Michael Bean's podcast, when he had on James Cameron. And James Cameron quote, for the best way I can quote it, I don't have it in front of me. He said, "You couldn't pay me to get back to that franchise." He said, "That franchise seems so fan driven." And somebody posted, I was like, "That's interesting." I don't really agree with that, but I would say that as we go forward, like, everyone essentially is saying, Patrick, certainly you, and definitely you, Ross, like Alien Isolation is the best Alien thing we've gotten since the original trilogy. And I probably agree with you guys, even though I don't know fully the ins and outs of it, but I've played it and been immersed in it and seen gameplay enough to know that they touched something. They were able to hold on to something, or maybe that's the wrong term. They were able to rekindle something for the fans, in a way that felt like Alien. And I think the IP is in an interesting place right now. You know, we have this gangbuster movie, Alien Romulus, that the sequel seems to have just fallen off the map, which is interesting. And I would imagine it's because of bureaucracy and creative control. And it seems like, and then you have, of course, Alien Earth, which, you know, was amazing right out of the gate, and then it just sort of fell off a cliff. And I was sharing with actually a friend of ours who used to be on the show, Christian. It seems like this IP feels a little cursed in a way. Like they've had such a hard time getting things right. And I don't agree that it's been run by the fandom. I don't think that at all. In fact, but I also don't think that they should listen to the fans either. I think that there should be, I think Andy, maybe you said this in a past episode, but there should be this committee of people who work for 20th or whatever. Maybe it's 2 people, maybe it's 3 people who work on story, who can bring us something where it feels like. And I watched Chernobyl the last couple of days. I was like, this is it. This is, and I've talked a lot about Andor and everything recently, and and as I was watching Chernobyl, I thought, this is what they've tapped. This is Alien. This is how you do Alien. You tap into the mystery, into the silence, into the what's out there, the quiet, and that's really certainly wasn't done in Alien Earth. But I'll end this just trying to I feel like this series again, or this IP is at a strange place right now, and I think the most hope that we have is for Isolation 2. Where everyone's hopes and dreams are, and I think it's an interesting place.
I was going to say something, but I've forgotten.
That's okay. No. I think we're going to wrap because this has been pretty long. But this is
that's what she said.
Obviously, Thanks, Micah.
Sorry.
Obviously, like much more to come on this. There's a lot of news, a lot of things to think about, and a lot of developments. And especially with Earth about to start filming season 2, there's going to be a lot more stuff to talk about in that regard. And we are going to be here for you, so tune in to us. And if you want to tune in even more directly to us, you can join our producer tier at $12 a month, and you get a private chat with the whole team and with each other. And you also get to help us produce this amazing, legitimately amazing audio drama that Jamie just finished the first and a half pass on. And Kyle and I are currently writing music for, and it is scary and
So cool, guys.
disturbing and very cool. And you're going to love it. And if you want to have a little bit more access to how it comes together and even help us a little bit, by getting your voice in it, go ahead and join our producer tier by going to patreon.com/perfectorganism and joining at that level. And I'm going to go ahead and do the roll call for our producers with no further ado. Nathan Gribble, Darren Gold, Murray Kucherawi, Jonas Holmsten, David Holmes, Dave Turner, Gene McDonald, Perry Chicos, Matthew Bruff, Carl McLean, Joseph Rosner, Deal With It, Blood Hut, Vincent Harris, Steve Patterson, G. Latour Yates, Zarnold Quigley, Ross Yost, Weed, Sean Rosado, Jeff DeLoff, Zeno Nick, Carl Hinkst, Chris B., Jeremiah White, Peter from Melbourne, Gary Smith, Angel Cruz, Weyland-Yutani, Distinguished Engineer, Brazen God, Sky Aaron, Jordan, and of course, Eric Poop Vein Stevens. We love you guys. We're grateful for you. Thank you. Our chat was nuts tonight.
That was awesome.
You're amazing. And we just love you guys. Thank you so much.
And
We
fill
do,
out,
and this will
please.
probably be the last episode before Alien Day. FYI.
Ooh, watch
Yeah.
out.
This will be the last episode ever if you don't fill out the survey that Micah made.
Threats.
Oh, they'll fill out the survey for real.
Oh, please
Thank you,
actually
Perry, for
do.
that.
I
Yeah,
want to
please
see
do.
your responses. Do it.
Yeah, we just want your feedback, y'all. We love you guys. Thank you.
If
You're
you
the
listen
best.
without filling it out, we can tell, and
We
we're gonna
know.
come talk to you about it.
Yep. You will get a strongly worded email.
Love you guys. Have a good night, everybody.
Thanks,
Good night.
everybody.
Thank
See you later, guys.
Bye.
How do I stop?
Oh no.